Hi, this is Tesseract from Odyssey. Today I'm going to be going over the controlling aspects of the new quantum power set, just the differences between a lot of the different powers you get, the choices that you'll make as a controller. First of all, I'll go over the two different powered over time moves that we have. From the time tree we have Tachyon Burst, and from the space tree there is Graviton Field. As always, the powered over time effects of these two are identical, so there's no differences there. Each of them sets up a power interaction for its own tree. So the time power Tachyon Burst sets up the destabilized power interaction, and Graviton Field sets up the Graviton Charge power interaction. That's basically the major difference between the two in terms of choosing which one you want to use. They both apply a similar stun effect that lasts for the same length of time. They both do comparable amounts of damage in slightly different ways, and yeah, the only other difference is that you seem to be able to get, if you've got mobs grouped together, then the time move, Tachyon Burst, that can hit up to 2 targets at once, whereas the Graviton Field can only really hit 1 target. So I'll try and show these off. That's Tachyon Burst from the time tree. As I said before, you can hit these 2 targets with it, and you do about, it's a damage of about 100. You get in just 1 burst. In comparison, that's Graviton Field there, only hits the 1 target. Damage takes about 4 times, between about 30 and 50. So they both end up roughly the same. At the moment, I've chosen to use Graviton Field, mostly just to set up the power interaction. I've ended up with a lot more of the space moves in my loadouts than the time move. But as I say, that seems to be the only real difference between the two. So first of all, the all-important defense buff. From the time tree we have Time Bomb. It's an odd power. It'll create an orb halfway between you and your target, which will slowly move towards your target before exploding when it impacts them. The debuff portion of it will actually take effect as soon as you cast the power. You don't need to wait for it to hit anything. So here we go. See, the target's debuffed even though it hasn't been hit yet. Singularity there is the defense debuff from the space tree. The major difference between these two is just the length of cooldown. You can see Time Bomb there, it's got quite a long cooldown. Singularity is much faster. So Singularity is definitely the move that I would use for the defense debuff. They both only apply to a single target. I've certainly never seen it apply to more than 1 target, so the primary reason for picking Singularity is just the cooldown on it. Moving on to the damage debuffs, we have Tachyon Blast, sorry, and Alcubierre Wave. The major deciding factor in this one is that Tachyon Blast is a 60% modifier move that's interruptible. The animation should be very similar to quite a few others that we've seen. Fire Burst from Fire, for instance. Short cooldown, but really you cannot be afford to have your moves interrupted. And since you're in controller role, I'm not gaining that 60% buff anyway, so that leaves the Alcubierre Wave. This is a move that was shown off in the live stream. It is the move that will pick up people from behind you and throw them in front of you. It's quite good fun. It has a slightly too long cooldown really for my tastes, but it's not interruptible. See, it's got that push move. push effect that I'll get. That can be really handy for positioning that one. So lastly we have the healing debuffs. These are Anomaly and Gravity Bomb. Again, there is one deciding factor for these, and it's just the fact that Anomaly is close range. Nothing happened. Oops, wrong one. That's how close you've got to be in order to get that to work. And the effect, as you can see, is very similar to Tachyon Burst, the powered over time move. You should be able to get the effect on multiple targets, but so far I haven't been able to get the debuff to apply to multiple targets, and as you can see here, this seems to be an issue getting it to apply to a single target if you have hit more than one. So we'll try and get that fixed on the testing feedback section of the forums. Managed to get it to effect there, but it's not the best move at the moment. As I said, the alternative is the space tree again, and that's Gravity Bomb. Again, it can have problems actually hitting with the primary move there. It takes a little while to travel out to the target, but the debuff is usually applied as soon as you activate the power. The other thing I would note about the Quantum Powerset is it seems to be fairly power heavy in terms of the cost of the move. The last thing to go over then is the loadout. So we have Power Over Time move, which, as I mentioned before, that is Gravitonic Field. For defense debuff, we're using Singularity. For the instant power, there's no choice there, we've got the instant power move, and of course we have Word of Power. That leaves the 2 free slots on the bar. At the moment, I'm using a damage debuff for running around in the new operations and things. I just find it really handy to be able to back up the tank and the healer with just by reducing the damage output of the bosses that we're coming up against. That could easily be interchanged for whenever you outgear the content or for lower content with the weapon buff. Warp Reality. Again, if you watched the live stream, you'll have seen them use this a lot. It's the rather funky looking one where you end up with galaxies on your hands. And that works similar to most of the other weapon buff moves. You'll get some yellow damage prop. Warped Reality also sets up your Graviton charged power interaction. The last slot on the bar, I always like to have a shield for that in case you need to pick up anybody that's fallen. I much prefer aggro dump shields, distract in gadgets and grandeur and mental. Sadly hard light doesn't have the option for it. In Quantum, the aggro dump power is turned out to be one of my favourite moves in the entire game. It's Quantum Tunneling, it's the teleport move. It is a lot of fun, and it's incredibly handy. The only time you'll find that it's not handy for picking people up is if they've died right at your feet. You don't want to be teleporting away in order to pick them up. That's about the only situation I'd say in which it's bad to be teleporting. If you've seen any of the other videos we've put up recently, the number of times I'll teleport over to someone to pick them up, it's like I say, it's fun, and it works really well to get you past groups of enemies and things. So that's the 6th slot on my bar. If you're not that into the aggro dump moves, or you don't want to be teleporting, the one thing I'll say about it is the lag can cause the teleport to take a lot longer to kick in strange ways. There's another shield. These are in the time tree. Shields here, time bubble. This looks really funky actually as well. A lot of the moves just look gorgeous. So that's just a normal shield. There's no aggro dump to it, so you'll get the home turf mods will proc off of that for healing, and you'll get a bit more damage resistance from that. But for me, it's got to be Quantum Tunneling. It's my favourite move from the whole set, and like I say, one of my favourite moves in the entire game. I haven't actually tested out most of the other supercharges. As usual, there tends to be one DPS focused one, and at least one funky one. There's the closed loop, which is the self-heal one. Looks quite funky, but mostly useful for soloing or anything like that. Temporal Vortex seems to be sort of a crowd control, bit of a damage move. 25% supercharge cost, you don't see many of them going about these days. In the space tree we have Event Horizon, which is very similar to the mental group shielding power, which will shield the entire team, and any attacks that will dealt to people that are shielded will give power back, as well as reflecting the damage. And then Oblivion seems to be the big 50% DPS supercharge move. Looks quite funky. As I say, I haven't had much time to test out the DPS versions of loadouts and things. But purely for controlling, there really isn't anything other than Word of Power and Speed Drain. They're just such staples of the role. Not much can really compete against them when you're talking about endgame content. So as I said, the loadout that I'll run with is Graviton Field for power over time, Singularity for the defense debuff. You've got your instant power move, you've got Word of Power. I'll definitely stick with Quantum Tunneling, and the last slot can be your damage debuff, which for me is Alcubierre Wave, and if you're not doing content that requires a damage debuff, you can always pick up Warped Reality and get a bit more damage going on in there. So that's it for quantum controlling. Hopefully we'll get another video up going over the DPS aspects of the power set soon. Thanks for watching.